Bill Watson, our curator, and Adam Trimble, Trimble from Building and Planning. Building and Planning hosts the Historic Preservation Commission. Bill and Adam are on that commission, and they've done an inventory of historic homes. I do want to give you an invitation also to next month's First Thursday program, which will be our last one for the season. It gets a little hot here during the summertime, so we take a little break. And that will be with Crystal Hicks from Washington State Libraries. She's going to have a program, 250 Years of Roots and Routes, tracing how families come to Washington. And then she'll try to balance the history and genealogy and include information on how to make use of Washington State Library's archives. And part of our exhibit for America 250, around the wall, the perimeter of the Moments That Made Us exhibit is about people that came to Cowlitz County and their journeys out here. So I think it'll tie in nicely with our exhibit and America 250. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Adam and Bill here. Thank you, gentlemen, so much. And let's give them a warm welcome.
We'll mention it. Welcome, everyone. I'm Bill Watson, curator here at the museum.
And I'm Adam Trimble, and I am staff to the Cowlitz County Historic Preservation Commission.
So, what makes a place historic? Well, according to the criteria on our register forms, it can be associated with events that have made a significant contribution to the broad patterns of national, state, and local history. Embodies the distinctive architectural characteristics of the time period, style, or method of design or construction, or represents a significant and distinguishable entity whose components may lack individual distinction. This is an outstanding work of a designer, builder, or architect who has made substantial contribution to the art. Exemplifies or reflects special elements of Cowlitz County's cultural, special, economic, political, aesthetic, engineering, or architectural history.
Bill, speak louder.
Okay. And I'm going to get him a microphone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Does anyone recognize the picture over there?
Yes. Is that on Barnes Road in Castle Rock?
That's right, that's the Laughlin Round Bar, north of Castle Rock on Barnes Drive. Even more criteria, they can be associated with the lives of persons significant in national, state, or local history.
Test 1, 2.
They have yielded or may be likely to yield important archaeological information related to history or prehistory. They're a building or structure removed from its original location, but which is significant primarily for architectural value, or which is the only surviving structure significantly associated with an historic person or event. If it's the birthplace or grave of a historical figure of outstanding importance and is the only surviving structure or site associated with that person. Bear with me, there's only one more page. Is a cemetery which derives its primary significance from age, from distinctive design features, or from association with historic events or cultural patterns. Is a reconstructed building that has been executed in a historically accurate manner on the original site. And finally, is a creative and unique example of folk architecture and design created by persons not formally trained in the architectural or design professions, and which does not fit into formal architectural or historical categories. Now, what are the differences between the historic register and historic inventory? And the register can provide some legal protections for a site or building. And the register can provide tax breaks on a building or site's historically correct repairs or construction. But any structural or cosmetic changes to a registered building must pass a design review by the Preservation Commission Board. Whereas the inventory is just a non-binding list used as a tool by the Preservation Commission to help us gather information about potential sites or buildings. And the published inventory list allows the public to learn about historic places around them. Oh, yeah, go for it.
And so, for tonight's talk, I think we're talking about inventory, and what you saw there was all the different factors that can create or contribute to a place being considered historic, kind of officially, if you will. We may all have our own associations with places which are important to us. What we were talking about was kind of the federal or national historic register criteria for making a place historic. And so for those places that are just so clearly and obviously outstanding architectural styles and have been maintained, you know, they may meet some obvious criteria, but I liked some of those that were like, was the home of somebody who was important. You know, the building itself may just not be impressive at all, but it was like somebody famous was born here, somebody significant lived here, or spent some time here, or even just stayed the night there. You know, that could potentially contribute to a place being on a historic register. So those are all really interesting little factors, but in terms of tonight, you've got to study and look into the places in your community to find out what is or may be historic, to discover those things, because all those different bullets could contribute, and you don't know it until you look into it. So that's kind of what the Historic Commission did. Spent some time doing a historic inventory of the earliest homes in Cowlitz County, and we're going to see quite a little bit about what was found there, some shining examples, because the history of the county, predates a lot of the houses in the cities, for example. So we'll learn about some of the early homes, some of the homestead homes, and I'm going to let Bill take it back and get into it.
All right. And when the inventory that we have done already covers from the beginning of the county until 1921. So it was 5 years ago that we started this inventory. And so we only did 100 years back, or up to 100 years back from 2021. And these were the scope that we used. According to the state register, buildings have to be at least 50 years old unless there's something really significant. So we have a few on our inventory that are newer than 1921, but not many yet. And the sites have to be within Cowlitz County, but outside of the city limits of all the incorporated cities. And our current inventory includes over 200? Okay, over 200. And Adam, do you want to explain why it's outside the city limits?
Yeah, so the state has recognized Cowlitz County, the government of Cowlitz County, as a certified local government. So that means it can offer tax breaks, create its own historic register, and jurisdictionally, it's just county properties, so not properties within the cities of the county. They're also eligible. Each of those cities could have their own certified local government. Right now, I think just Longview does.
Yeah. So, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. And I spent 16 years working for City of Longview, working with their historic preservation program. And in that time, I helped complete a project that was working to inventory all the buildings in the Old West Side neighborhood. And so there's over 600 properties there. Took several years to get that, but then we had a dedicated team of volunteers that, okay, sorry. We had a dedicated team of volunteers that worked to get the detailed history of each of those buildings. We had people going through telephone books, pulp directories, knocking on doors in some cases, and learning more than what you would normally do in a historic inventory. So we have this rich collection of knowledge about each of those homes, and it is actually all available online if you're interested. There's a program called Wizard, and so the Washington State Department of Archaeology and Historic Preservation, they publish all of their inventory properties online, and you can just kind of search through and find them. They've made it available to the public for the most part, and I think we're going to demonstrate it for you right now. So if anybody wants to go home and learn about what might be interesting in their neighborhood. This is the Wizard program in action, live for you tonight. So there's our Old West Side neighborhood coming into focus. And what I'm going to do is just turn on the properties. Just click that. And so those yellow dots are all of the inventory properties in the neighborhood. And because this tool is meant to create kind of a repository of information for anybody doing work that might affect a historic property, we've got dots all over the city and probably all over the county. So this is an example of one of those inventories. I'm gonna test the limits of our technology tonight and try to show you what an example. Here we go. So this is what the volunteers put together. Looks like we got a minimal traditional house here, and the date it was built. And then in this particular one, we had our volunteers did an assessment, so it would contribute to a national register if one was formed, or a historic district if one was formed. And then this is that narrative. So again, you probably won't find this much detail on every property that you might be curious about, but this is what they did for this neighborhood. You know, they went in and looked at, you know, Gordon Hanson purchased the property from the county treasurer in May, received the deed 3 months later. He constructed the house and lived there for 4 years, and you know, it goes through all the history. We had an architect do a description of the physical appearance and an assessment of its status for historic preservation. So that's just kind of a snapshot of the Longview project. Again, you know, tonight's talk is really about the effort of the County Historic Preservation Commission, but we did want to demonstrate that this is kind of a cool tool, and if you're just interested in your area and you think that, you know, you're living by a house that has a story to tell, it's possible that somebody has already inventoried it and put it into this system. And it does serve that purpose of kind of protecting it from projects that might be going on nearby.
Why would a house be determined not eligible?
Yeah, there are some things that can happen to homes over time if they're modified in ways that remove their kind of integrity, the features that might have made them significant or too far from the original to be recognizable, or that perhaps they just are not an example of that significant architectural style or association with important people or any of those other bullets.
And you will see some examples of that later in our slideshow. Buildings that have been greatly modified from their original.
Do you have any privacy concerns about people who didn't consent to put their name on this list? Or did you get everybody's consent?
The inventory list we published, we sent out postcard notifications to people and gave them, how long, 30 or 60 days to opt out. And so, what was it, about a dozen people opted out, but most everybody else did not. And so where did we start when we went looking for information? We did use the wizard tool, as Adam demonstrated, but we also used the Cowlitz County Assessor's Office, Public Records, Pulse City Directories, which we have a set here at the museum. Some of them right here. And they also have a set of these at the Longview Library. And then, if you want to demonstrate while I do the others. Then also the Metzger Atlases of Cowlitz County. They're not published every year, but the years they are published, or were published, were 1925, revised 1930, 1942, 1956, 1965, and Adam is holding my reference copy of the 1981, which is March 1980, so before the mountain blew. And also the museum's archives. And fun fact, does anybody know where that house is? You're right, it's Kelso.
It's on that street that goes down.
Nope. That house is right where you're sitting right now. This is the old Lee house. That was right here. Just before it was torn down in 1954, unfortunately.
What was the name? Lee?
Lee, yes.
The one that replaced that was Lee and Grimm's store.
Well, Lee and Grimm's store was further this way, down Allen's.
It's on the same block.
Same block, yeah,
401.
on the other corner, yeah.
Bill, what was that building right next to it?
Uh,
And who used to own it?
Isn't that the Western Auto Supply
Yes,
store
thank you very much.
that your family owned? All right. So, who's ready for more guessing games? Does anyone know where this is? No one wants to take a guess? This is one of the oldest buildings in the county that's still standing. This is the Squire and Millie Bozarth House in Woodland. Yeah. And there's the location there with the Woodland, shown among the Woodland donation land claims. How about this one? Anyone know this one?
Jackson Carriage House in Catchrock.
Jackson Inn. Very good. That is west of Castle Rock, off of Delabiner. How about this one? Who knows this one? Oh, like that?
You have another battery.
Yeah. Does anyone know this one? This one is the Northern Pacific Railroad Hospital in Kalama, which is now a private residence.
You cued that, didn't you, though?
Say,
What
How
was
about
it-
this
what-
one?
What was the address on that last one?
Forget the exact address, I think it's off of North 3rd or 4th.
Test?
Northeast 3rd or 4th in Kalama.
yeah, the Northern Pacific Railroad Hospital was in Kalama. Off of, I know it's in the northeast part of the town. How about this one?
Is that one on Pleasant Hill Road?
It is.
I don't know the family name, but I recognize the house.
Very good. That is the Charles Dahlquist House. And some sources say it might be earlier than 1880, that's why I've got a circa up there. And how about this one?
Getting some hints there with the photos, aren't you?
Trying to. This is the Squire Jr. and Cynthia John Bozarth house in Woodland. Also built in 1880. This one's on the east side of Woodland.
I know what street it's on.
Yeah,
From Pacific Avenue.
Pacific Way. Yes.
Pacific Way, yes.
You're right.
Pacific Way. There's an old,
Yep.
train.
Just past 42nd
Yeah.
is the L.D. Shepherdson house.
Why didn't we buy it?
How about this one?
Grant Street, I believe. It's on Grant Street, isn't it?
It's right off of Grant Street. It's off Northwest 2nd, off of Grant in West Kelso. It's one of many houses in West Kelso that were built by Adam Catlin in the 1880s after he had platted the town of Catlin.
Is that the oldest Catlin house?
It is not.
It's not.
And fun fact, we don't know exactly which house Adam Catlin lived in with his family, but he built several to sell as a developer for the town of Catlin. What about this one? Yes, it is. It's off Pacific Way. This is the Arthur Shepherdson house, built in 1887. Arthur Shepherdson was the eldest son of L.D. Shepherdson, and he was also the first engineer of the logging railroad locomotive, the Ant. How about this one? Any guesses?
I could probably drive to it, but I can't remember the street name. Get in your car, let's go.
This is
I'm
the
a real
Wil-
estate agent, I drive by all of those.
This is the William Dahlman house up in Silver Lake.
Oh, I was wrong, I thought it was. A lot of Norwegians.
And Swedes, yeah. We'll see some more of those before we're done. Any ideas where this one is? Yeah, the background doesn't give much context, does it? This is actually just outside Kalama, and I couldn't actually find who the original builder or owner was, but the most, some of the people who had it in sources I did find were the Zillig family or the Vivian family. Anybody in Kalama? Okay, this is a pretty famous Kalama house. It's the George Duval and George Gore house, and it's on Elm. You can pass it on your way up to the school. How about this one? That is another Bozarth house in Woodland. There are so many Bozarths. Anyone know where this one is?
Germany Cook?
No.
Germany Cook?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is. It's the Eugene Brock house, built in 1894. This one's a lot more obscure. I'll be surprised if anyone got this one.
Interesting roof line.
Yeah. This one is the Hans Wieberg and J.E. Johnson house on Green Mountain. That's from 1895. Anyone know where this one is? Well, there's similar ones in Northwest Kelso, but this one is Castle Rock. Yep. How about this one? I'd be surprised if anyone got this one. It's kind of it's pretty well obscured by trees from the road.
It's hard to see.
Is that a McCorkle house? A McCorkle house out in Lexington?
It is in Lexington, but it's not a McCorkle house. Yeah. It actually belonged to B. Smith, who was one of the sons of LP Yankee Smith, who had the donation claim just south of the McCorkles. So, son of a pioneer. Yeah. So, obviously it's the Atkins home.
We don't.
Anyone care to guess which town?
Maybe Clinton.
Right, Kalama. Good job. Yeah. You've got a little more common looking ones. Anyone care to guess where this is? These are worker cottages in Ostrander. There's a whole group out in Ostrander that were built between about 1900 and 1910 for workers at the Ostrander Railway and Timber Company.
Do you know what street that's on?
This one is on Collins, but there's also a bunch that are on, I think it's West Ostrander Avenue and Red Row. How about this one?
Separate Avenue.
Yes,
Seventh
there you go.
Crawford. Seventh Crawford.
On North 7th in Kelso. Good example of the working man's Foursquare style. And any guesses? I actually had to find the name for this home for this presentation. Before that, we didn't know who built it. This is built by the Lawrence Schmidt family on Abernathy Creek. I think it's actually on West McAdams Road, but near Abernathy. Yeah. How about this one? It's a woodland home that's not a Bozarth one. It was built by Ed Gary in 1907. And the background kind of gives this one away. This is the Dr. Robert Darnell House in Kalama. How about this one? Yep, you got it. It's in Kelso on South Pacific. It was built by Andrew Carlson, who had built one or two additions in South Kelso, and then was sold to Leander Wallace, one of the sons of Victor Wallace, and who also had a land development in South Kelso.
What makes it a Queen Anne free plastic style?
I'm actually basing that on a presentation that was done for us by the architect at the State Department of Archaeology and Historic Preservation, Michael Hauser, and I actually printed out his presentation, and I have it over there. And since I'm not an architect, I know very little about architecture myself. Just went through his presentation to see the style that it fit best. And so,
Yeah, why don't we pass that presentation around?
Good idea.
Yeah, it's the state's architectural historian, Michael Hauser, and he did a training for us on architectural styles, and so if you take a peek through there, you'll see, I think he did include a few examples from Cowlitz County. It was pretty fun.
Yes.
And how about this one? This is a big one in Kalama. Some people may know it as the Dean Story Mansion in Kalama, but it started out as the Willard Case House, who owned the Mountain Timber Company mill in Kalama. This is quite an interesting one. This one is, I put Castle Rock, but it's kind of southwest of Castle Rock. It was built by James and Jesse Spencer of the Spencer Hotel. The James Spencer who built the Spencer Hotel in Castle Rock's first hotel in the early 1880s. And he only had the hotel for a couple of years before he moved to a farm out at Silver Lake. And after about 25 years out there, he decided to sell the farm and bought a place over in the Sandy Bend, Hazeldale area, west of Castle Rock. And this is the house they built in 1911 when they moved over there.
So would that have started out as just where the dormers are, just straight down, and then those additions and the porch added on?
You know, I'm not sure. That'd be more of a question for an architect who can see which additions. And that's one of the problems we had when putting together our inventory, is none of us are architects. Although we do have one on the commission now, so we'll have to consult him when we make the new list. And here's one of those that has undergone obvious and many modifications. This was the Carroll's Congregational Church, and it's now a private residence off of Old Pacific Highway. I know you can kind of see it, but they've done a lot to the building.
Is it a private residence is one, or is it a multiplex, like 3 or 4 homes in it?
Just one. Yeah. And anyone care to guess where this one is? This one is in Sandy Bend. And it was built by 2 Swedish brothers, Albert and Oscar Westberg. And these are not the same house, by the way, but they're in similar location. These are in Vision Acres, just off South Pacific Highway, just south of Rose Valley Road. Right? You know where this one is?
That's on the, right, I don't know the name of the street though, don't tell, the old highway.
Kelso Drive.
Yeah, oh,
Yes.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I always loved
Yep.
it.
And I found out just today that this house was built by Pierre Landry, who owned the Kelso Veneer Company, which was between the railroad tracks and the river in North Kelso. Quite a grand house.
Where's it at now?
off Kelso Drive, between Kelso Drive and Grade Street.
Just before house.
Yeah. And how about these? Those look familiar to anyone? These were all houses built when they moved the Poor Farm from the north end of Lake Sacagawea out to over, Beulah Drive is over by the yeah, by Carnival Market, between the bottom of Nevada and the bottom of Alpha Drive. And yeah, in 1920 they moved the Poor Farm out here, and there was already an existing house there from the Libby family. I did not include it in here, but that one was built in the late 1890s. And when they moved the Poor Farm out here, they had to build a bunch more houses for the people who came out there. And then, how about this one? This is the Patchen House out at Silver Lake, built in 1920. That, okay, good more. Anyone know where this is? This is the DuPont powder or dynamite storage house down at Martin's Bluff. And we don't know exactly when it was built, but I'm guessing it was around 1923 when they were putting in the Pacific Highway. Yep,
Do we know what it's being used as now?
it's just sitting there right now. Yeah. A couple more. This one is obviously the Kalama Baptist Church, but it started out as the Kalama Grange Hall. And so one of the other things we have on our inventory list is all the granges in the county and former granges, because of their significance to the county. And one more, if you were here for the program last fall, you might recognize this one. This is the Morgan Mary or Elephant Mountain House on Green Mountain. And it's one of the newest ones we have on our inventory list so far. Yes, I don't know if we have any copies left in our store. Nope, they've all been sold out. But we had it in our store for a while. It's called Elephant Mountain and was written by Debbie Ethel, a Portland author, Portland area author. Yes. So, what is next? Later this year, we're going to start updating our inventory with structures built between 1922 and 1927. And that's obviously going to be a big jump because the coming of Longview meant that there was a big population boom in 1923. They're starting in 1923. And we're also going to review the existing inventory to see if more information can be added. Just the last couple days putting together this program, I found out a lot more about several of these houses and was able to include it in the program. We also want to see if the incorporated cities other than Longview would like to collaborate with the Historic Preservation Commission to put their historic buildings on our inventory or register. Do you have anything to add, Adam?
Yeah, just again, from a historic preservation perspective, the inventory is, the kind of the first and crucial step in, building up a historic registry. I think the county started its commission, 2016, somewhere in there.
Yeah,
So
it'll be 10 years in December.
yeah, so this is, those kind of early efforts to identify properties that are significant to this area, and do that kind of outreach to the owners to see if they're interested in preserving them through recognition on a historic register, or even like listing on a register where they could be eligible for tax credits or tax breaks. So there's a lot of value in this, and then I just really love all the interesting things that pop up as a result of an inventory, all the little stories that come out of it. You know, when you filter through properties by year built, you end up with things like, you know, falling down cabins and really old barns, you know, and this kind of work, and like the work that Bill and volunteers have done to learn more than just, you know, the snapshot that was taken by the assessor 3 years ago, and find the, you know, the picture of the church that was converted, for example. I mean, I think those are just gems that come out of these kind of inventory efforts, where you see like, oh, it was the Carroll's church, and it had the steeple, you know, and then now it's a house that you might drive by and you would never know, except for these inventory efforts. So I really love the efforts put into this, and I'm looking forward to the next phase, even though it'll be a much bigger lift because so many more properties become part of the study. So yeah, as far as the commission goes, we're interested in getting architectural evaluations of these structures and possibly adding them into the wizard system, and then that would put them kind of on the map for anybody doing projects nearby where they would want to be sensitive to those buildings.
Yes.
What kind of tax breaks do you get?
And for those in the audience, you know, if you own a building that might be historic or know somebody with one, being a certified local government, Cowlitz County can, you know, recognize your property, put it on a historic register, and then, you know, the way it kind of works is you might be in a position to invest in that home or preserve it in some way. If you're doing that kind of a investment, then we can basically write off that value and kind of ignore those improvements for 10 years. So you won't get kind of penalized as you would for investing and preserving your building. So especially if it can be routine things like just roofs, siding, as long as you're keeping it appropriate, you can get that tax benefit of having a historic building, keeping it intact, preserving it. And then there's restoration work. You know, if you have a passion for this, or you know somebody who's already working on their historic building and they're trying to restore it to original, that's all eligible as well for that same tax break. So beyond that, you can potentially be on a state register or a national register. Commercial buildings are eligible for a tax credit when they do similar levels of investment, and they're on the National Historic Register, so you can actually get money back on taxes for investing in a commercial building.
Any other questions? Yes.
I would like to know how I'd like to approach council and pitch the idea to have them be part of this. And, who would I talk to?
Would it be the city council?
No, I don't mean the city council, I mean, who here would I get to talk to, get a little more information
Oh.
on how to approach them. I served on the Kelso City Council for 10 years.
Okay. We need an interlocal agreement, right?
Yeah, I know the city of Kelso and other cities have looked into becoming their own certified local governments, and that's a great option. Another option, I think the Clark County model is that the Clark County Historic Preservation Commission serves as the commission for any of the cities that want to participate through an interlocal agreement. So that's a nice option where the cities might contribute to the county's staffing, and then in return, those city residents could, you know, join a historic register and get all the administration of tax break programs if they want to do that. So it's work yet to be done in the preservation world in this county, but so far we have 2 certified local governments, and you know, there could be more.
Anyone else?
I just have a question. Afterwards, can we see the
demonstration up here? Okay.
It's just like,
I'm interested in that myself.
yeah, I can see the house I want and assign a serial number of sorts, but from there I can't find anything else.
Yeah, it's a little tricky. You've probably already figured this part out, which is like, if you open up Wizard, you zoom to your area, that part's pretty simple.
Yeah.
There's a little.
They're not mirroring it.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry to do that.
Stop.
Do you exit out of the slideshow yet?
There you go, thank you.
All right.
Yeah, the mapping program, you can zoom to your properties, and then, yeah, on the legend, which is,
See, I can't get that.
you open up the legend, and then there's a little eyeball, and you click on it.
Which one's the
Display.
legend?
It looks like a stack of papers.
Okay.
Alright.
Yeah, if you're at home, open the legend,
It's gonna be a little bit different on your phone.
click the little eyeball to turn on the properties.
Okay, so it's probably gonna work on my computer, but just not on my phone.
It may not work on your phone just because it may not be optimized for mobile.
Okay,
But
I get it.
yeah, if you can get the legend open, view the properties, and then, yeah, it'll have a little print option, which is a tidy way to review it, so. Example of one right here.
Now, is this like a Wikipedia page where anybody can keep adding to it, or is it not like that?
No, I think only people at the Department of Archaeology and Historic Preservation can add to it. People can send information to them that they can add if they deem it necessary.
Have ours open.
Yes, right there.
So I think we should also demonstrate that that our local historic commission created a very similar project to Wizard, except just for the Cowlitz County inventory. And it is also available online if you're curious. You can go in and click on any of the properties that were inventoried by the volunteers on the commission, and it displays the information that we collected. Right here, you can kind of see the demonstration. The inventory effort, captured some of these details, but didn't get into the architectural styles or who lived there, except for maybe who built it. So,
And how do you find that?
For that, you can go to Cowlitz County Government website. Under Building and Planning, there's a tab that says Historic Preservation Commission, and under that tab, there's another one that says Historic Inventory.
yeah, it's a pretty fun way to learn about the area where you live. Wizard in particular also captures archaeological resources, and those are very interesting when you come across them. You may have never known what was or had been nearby you.
All right. Any other questions? If anyone did want to learn more about a house, we do have information request forms up here. And you could fill one of those out and we could get back to you after doing some research.
Is it just county houses, not necessarily cities?
When we did our inventory before, even though it was for the county and the ones we have on the website are just county ones, we still looked in the cities. And so we have lists of the ones in the cities, they're just not on the website. So I actually have a couple binders over here that I actually printed out for this. And this big thick one is Kelso. There's Kelso within the city limits, and then one's on the outskirts of Kelso and the outskirts of Longview. And then this one is Castle Rock within city limits and outside city limits.
And are they by address?
Yes, I have them organized alphabetically by address. Oh, and if you're interested in the Old West Side of Longview, as mentioned earlier, there is a new book out. We're hoping to get this for our store. I don't know if anyone caught Fred Baxter's program at the Longview Library last week, but he has a new book out. He's an architect, and on Old West Side houses. And this is all proceeds from this benefit the Longview Public Library, and it's currently available over there, and we're also hoping to get some to sell in our store. So if that's everything, thank you for coming tonight.